So we've been talking about the rights. I was going to say war on child labor, but it's the opposite. It's the embrace of child labor that's happening with Republicans at the state level all across the country. And I want to give you an update on that. So here we have, look at this, guys. This is from a New York Times reporter. They tweeted this article out. A major child labor rollback goes into effect in Iowa this weekend. 14-year-olds are now allowed to work in meat coolers. 15-year-olds can join assembly lines, and 16-year-olds can serve alcohol. In a few weeks, similar rollbacks take effect in Arkansas. So this is the Iowa law. We talked about the Iowa law before. I find it supremely ironic that at the same time, there's all this commentary on the right about we must protect the children, we must protect the kids. When they say that, what they're talking about is we don't want them to learn about gay stuff in schools. We don't want them to learn about trans stuff in schools. That's what they mean. And they cloak it in this notion. We don't want them to get groomed by perverts. And it's like, really, as a teacher in Florida said, you think I'm trying to teach your kid to be gay? I barely have enough time to teach them math. So all this talk about the kids, the children, oh, the children, the children. And then in the next breath, they're like, all right, 14-year-olds in meat coolers. Let's do it. Guys, look at this picture, man. Look at this picture. Does that look like it's a good direction for society? Does that look like it's a good direction for society? Oh, sweet Jesus. She continues here and says, the child labor rollbacks are so extreme that they violate a century of U.S. law, but the Labor Department can't force officials in Iowa or any other states to enforce federal rules. So we can expect to see a lot more kids working adult jobs this summer. I think she's wrong about that. The supremacy clause of the Constitution means the federal law overrides state law. So if federal agencies stepped in and said, you can't do this, I don't think they have any recourse. Now, maybe it would end up in court, but I think the federal government would win in that scenario. Why are half a dozen GOP states suddenly chipping away at child labor laws? The legislation all goes back to the same source, a billionaire-backed Florida lobbying group. Well, no shit. In other words, hey, man, unemployment's very low right now, and wages have gone up, trying to keep up with inflation. They want to pay workers a lot less. So how do you pay workers less? Well, hire a 14-year-old, and they'll accept less money and get them to do the job. And in many instances, it is dangerous jobs. So it's another way to pad the bottom line and make more profit. She continues, this isn't a debate about getting kids after school jobs. The law already allows 14-year-olds to work 40 hours a week. 16-year-olds can work the same hours as adults. What's in question is whether minors belong in the handful of occupations where they're most likely to get hurt. Which leads me to the next thing I want to show you. A 16-year-old boy was killed this week while working at a sawmill in Wisconsin in violation of child labor laws. Wisconsin is one of 14 states with proposals to roll back child labor protections. Look, this is going to happen if you allow young people to work these dangerous jobs. It's just going to happen. It's par for the course. Now, look, I think there actually is a reasonable discussion around the line of 16. My typical thing is I think 16 and up for everything. But having said that, if this happened with a 16-year-old, what do you think will happen with a 14-year-old? What do you think will happen with a 14-year-old working in a meat cooler? What do you think will happen with a 14-year-old doing some difficult lumberjack job? What do you think will happen with a 14-year-old working on an assembly line with various dangerous machinery around them? What do you think will happen? I really don't even think it's debatable for 14-year-olds. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. I don't think 15-year-olds should be allowed to do it either. 16 is where the debate, I think, becomes reasonable. But understand, this is what's going to happen. And it's all for more profit. It's all to squeeze out a couple extra pennies for the boss. This is part and parcel. This is the nature of capitalism. And at the same time, you have people on the right pretending we want to protect the kids, we want to care for the kids, we want to protect their innocence. At the same time, they're shoving them into some of the most dangerous jobs imaginable by legalizing child labor. Guys, what's astonishing to me, following politics as long as I have, is there are many instances where you think, oh, this debate is over. We settled this one, right? Gay marriage. Oh, we settled the gay marriage debate. That one's done. It's game, set, match. It's over. And then all of a sudden, after a 5 or 6 year slumber, the right reawakens that sleeping giant and goes all in on actually, we don't agree. Actually, we'd like to trash anti-discrimination protections for gay people. Actually, we never agreed. This is not consensus. We're against it. Now, to be fair, the polling disagrees with that. The people on the right, about 50% of people on the right are okay with gay marriage. But has been a dip within the past year or two in support of gay rights and gay marriage because they're pouring on the rhetoric heavy now. Look at the Daily Wire and everything they're putting out there. And so If you think something's settled, it's not. I used to believe in the Martin Luther King quote that the arc of history is long, the moral arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. I now don't believe in that. I don't take anything for granted. I think even if you get a hard-fought victory, you need to fight to preserve it and go further. Because it's not just going to coast on its own. And this is another great example. We all thought the child labor debate was donezo. We all thought that. Turns out it's not done. Turns out when it comes to, let's see, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, purchasing legal marijuana at the state level, voting, when it comes to a bunch of things, the line goes up and up and up. Like, alcohol's 21. So you need to be 21 years old to drink a beer, but at 14, you can work some of the most dangerous jobs in existence? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. We know it doesn't make sense. They're trying to, like, breed obedient workers. Breed obedient workers and squeeze every penny of profit out of it. That's what this is. And this is the result. I honestly believe, I sincerely believe, every Republican at the state level who votes for allowing a 14-year-old to work a dangerous job should be in prison. Because this isn't an issue where it's like, well, there's reasonable ideological disagreement on this one, and they just have a different philosophy. No. This is a position that they know is stupid, but it is bought by billionaires. These politicians are corrupt, and they are bribed. They are bought by industry to do these things. They know they're wrong. Many of them have kids. They know what a 14-year-old is like. And they go with it anyway. Beyond grotesque. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.